Hello, everyone. My name is Father Marcus Shimami. I'm an associate pastor here at Holy Martyrs Chaldean Catholic Church in Sterling Heights, Michigan. It's my great honor to explore with all of you some themes out of the Old Testament. When we think about the Old Testament, what normally comes to mind for many of us is the Jewish people. When we think of the Jewish people, we think of their language being Hebrew. However, for a good amount of time, we see that this was not the case, that Aramaic actually became their common tongue for a good chunk of time. And even when we take a look at the Old Testament, there are many copies of the Old Testament that are circulated in Aramaic and not actually Hebrew. Why was this the case? Why was it even the case that two books out of the Old Testament were written completely and originally in Aramaic? To understand this, our story goes back around 500-600 years before Christ. The northern half of the Jewish kingdom, Israel, had been taken by the Assyrians, and shortly after, the southern half of the kingdom, Judea, was taken by the Chaldeans. Sound familiar? But the Chaldeans took it over, and when they took it over, they decided to take the upper class of the population, those who were the most learned, those who were the craftsmen, those who were the scholars. They decided to take them back to Babylon and to have them live in Babylon as citizens of Babylon. And so, for a number of years, this practice continued until they were taken, until the Chaldeans were overtaken and conquered by the Persians. And the Persians, when they took over the land of Babylon, they allowed for the Jews to return back to their homeland. However, many Jews, even after what was called the Babylonian captivity, decided to stay within Babylon, and when they stayed within Babylon, they began to be encultured with the culture around them. They began to become they began to use Aramaic as their standard tongue rather than Hebrew, and so there was this shift from Hebrew to Aramaic. And so for the common man, even in Babylon, even in Mesopotamia, and even for the Jews returning from Mesopotamia back to Israel, they basically just spoke Aramaic in everyday life. And however, Hebrew did not completely disappear at this time. What we do see is that Hebrew actually still is used in government institutions. It's still used in religious institutions, and it's still used among the upper classes of Jewish culture. So it doesn't completely disappear. However, as many Jews want to begin to study, as many Jews begin to want to read their scriptures, they want to read it in a language they understand. And so we see that much of the Old Testament during this time is actually translated from Hebrew into Aramaic. In fact, two books out of the Old Testament, the book of Daniel and the book of Ezra, are written originally and completely in Aramaic and not Hebrew, which was a first. And so as the Jews begin to even disperse, a lot of even the Babylonian Talmud, the Jerusalem Talmud, are all translated into from Hebrew into Aramaic and dispersed among. And so this is why we find so many copies of the Old Testament in Aramaic. And in fact, Aramaic even becomes the common language, the lingua franca, if you will, of the Mesopotamian region for another 600 years after Christ, 700 years even, until it's gradually being replaced by Arabic when the Arab invasions happened, when the Arabs pushed in and took over Mesopotamia in the mid-600s. And so we see that Aramaic, for a good chunk of time, was the official language, not the official language, but rather the language used by many of the Jews from around 500 BC to around 650 AD. Good. Well, I hope we all learned a little bit more about some background history of the Bible, especially the Old Testament, which it's always good to learn about these things so that we are able to uncover and understand more about the truth that is Jesus Christ, so that he can be a more vivid picture for our lives as Christians as we as we begin to follow Him who is the way, the truth, and the life. God bless you all.